What is happening, good people? Jeff C here. It is February the 4th, 2020. I hope you're all doing well. And my sound's going to come in here in a second. I think it's working. Actually, I don't have my stereo on, so I'm going to double check this just to make sure that we're coming in. Yeah, we are. We are coming in. Okay, awesome. You shut up. All right. Welcome to the show. I'm here with my good friend Camille, and we're going to take a good look at some of the big pharma solutions to the pandemics that they spook us with on the nightly news every day, and why perhaps we should all be concerned about these solutions, because that's often what the whole thing is about. I've been saying this for so long, that it's solutions that we need to fear because that's the Hegelian dialectic, right? When the Hegelian dialectic, when we talk about things being orchestrated, I'm not saying everything out there is a massive orchestration, but most of the big events that are happening in our world are well orchestrated and seem to be following some sort of narrative, some sort of plot. And when it comes to what we have with things like the coronavirus, I mean, there's so much fear porn that is thrown out there. And we think, like, if we think about it on a few different levels, because we had Bill Gates predicting 33 million, we had other publications putting out 65 million, we had all this buildup, we had Event 201 back in October. Most people out there are not aware of these things. Most people out there are oblivious to them, and that's probably somewhat by design, but they do get the fear porn. They get the movies, they get the television shows that often mirror or predictively program things that are to come. And then, like a lot of people feel like that these bioweapons are being released to depopulate the planet. You can't really blame them. And then people start fearing the plague, and then the media plays into all the fear with the pandemic, right, breaking out. And then you get this, calls for action. And then you got big pharma and government coming in, the CDC and co coming in and saying, well, actually, we've been working on these things. We've been doing this, we've been doing that, and it looks like we may have the solution. And this gets into the whole vaccine agenda because, people at the end of the day are very skeptical about what is in these vaccines, and many people who, of course, are administered these vaccines see instant sort of changes in their health, and then with children, the rates of autism and the direct connections, obviously. So there's so much concern about what is being put in these vaccines, and we're getting into a different realm now. It's not your mommy and daddy's vaccines, not your granddaddy's vaccines, right? This is something entirely different, or a different beast, to aptly put, where we have this biotech and this nanotechnology that is being administered or being experimented in these vaccines. So we are going into a very different realm. And that's, like, we often think big, right? Like, the way that we think about things, we think huge multinational corporations, we think huge bureaucracies, governments, we think of huge countries and stuff like that. But in many ways, when you're looking to the future, you want to look small and really small. And that's when we talk about nanotechnology, and where so many things could absolutely change forever within our own bodies, and that we may not have control over what we have. We already have a lot of things in our bodies that, I mean, we have no idea, right? We have no choice. There are so many chemicals that have been unleashed in our foods and in our water and just in the atmosphere itself over the past 100 years or so from these big tech corporations, many of them that you're very well familiar with. Dow, of course, Monsanto, Bayer, many other corporations that are involved in the whole process of delivering these sort of solutions, if you will. So with that being said, I think it's time to take a look at what is going around with this coronavirus. So with that, here's my guest, Camille. Camille, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, and I really enjoy doing these shows with Camille. And of course, I put a link to Camille's channel in the description. So if you haven't subscribed to her, you are definitely missing out. Go and check her out. She's doing fantastic work. And yeah, I did catch, well, I've caught all your videos, but there was one that you did the other day about biotech, SOAR, over coronavirus. Do you want to maybe start off a little bit about that, discussing what you were showing in that video?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I have a video clip of the creator saying what it is.
Okay.
I've had such issues with my video software that I couldn't make it go on there. But let me grab that and I'll send it over to you here. Um, yeah, they're nano machines. It's like a whole other thing than vaccines. It's crazy because just like every other industry is being disrupted, it's like, what if big pharma is set to have that very same thing, and out with the old and in with the new? And this stuff, who knows what it can do? They can stow. I just sent you the link. They can stow pharmaceuticals inside of them. What if they can put other things inside of them? Who knows? Who knows what they can do? They say they can cure so many things because it's one guy and he has a few different companies that are all doing sort of the same but different things. And one of his companies licensed to his other company this nanovirusides, and it's crazy. They describe it like a Venus flytrap sort of thing, that it just like grabs them.
So, should I share this video?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share the video. Should I show the whole thing? It's about 5 minutes.
No, it should bring it up at about 30 seconds in,
Okay.
or maybe like 30 seconds worth or so.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to just, how do I play this? I'm gonna actually this is difficult now because I got my headphones.
I won't talk.
Yeah, I have to switch to put my stereo back on. So for a moment. No, it's okay. It's not your fault. It's just this is the little complicated.
Uh-oh. Now I don't hear Jeff at all. Does anybody else hear him? I don't know.
Little audio input. Yeah, I'll put the headphones back on in a second. So I gotta share this first and foremost. I gotta share my screen. And we'll take a look at this video here. Let's see here. Switch things around, move this, dance that. And hang on here. Screen share. All right. Can you see that now?
Yep.
Okay, good. So here we go. I'm going to play this. So it's going to come through my speaker here. I'm going to listen in. So the title of the video is called Nanovirusides, Combating Viruses in Small but Mighty Way. Okay, here we go.
It's like, and what we design here is a machine, a full nano machine that can just grab the virus and destroy it. Imagine that in the stream, in the bloodstream, in the lymph nodes.
Incredible. What viruses does it target?
We have done a lot of viruses already. So we have targeted influenza, we have targeted HIV, we have done work against dengue, Ebola, to name a few. We are now focusing on herpes viruses. It's a ubiquitous virus that is very HSV1, HSV2, VZV. These are ubiquitous. They are almost everywhere in everybody, and they are a major threat. It's just not being talked about as much, and it's an important problem.
Absolutely. And you say it's in the form of a machine. Does it change within different viruses?
Yes. There is one small part that we have to change based on the virus. So think of it this way. The virus is a body. It's a particle that lands onto the cell surface. It binds to the same point on the cell surface, no matter how much it changes. Viruses mutate all the time, but they bind to the same thing. Now, so what we try to do is we try to copy that same thing where the virus is going to bind to, and we make a matrix, a surface, where it will look like the cell surface to the virus from the outside. So the virus will come and seek the nanoviricide and bind to it. When that happens, the nanoviricide actually opens up and engulfs the virus, sort of like a Venus flytrap.
Oh,
yeah, that's a really great analogy. And how is this approach better than what is out there right now?
So there are two parts to virus, how virus grows. Viruses are semi-living beings. They don't grow by themselves like bacteria do. They have to go inside the cell, open themselves up, and then grow. In order to do that, they first have to go inside the cell. And then from the inside the cell, after they have grown there, they come out and then they try to infect other cells. So what we do is we intercept that ability of the virus from attacking a new cell. And the existing approaches that are there.
He's going to go on and on.
All right.
But later on, he does say that that this technology stays out of the cell most of the time. It's like, oh, good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, this reiterates the dramatic change that we're. I mean, everyone. I think a lot of people, even like the anti-vax movement. I wouldn't know because I don't. It's not like I don't have time to put
Yeah.
enormous amount of times into the whole vaccine agendas, although I do cover it. But I think a lot of people like it's like let me give another maybe analogy that maybe Camille you think it might make sense, and I hope I'm not getting any echo or I'm not giving you any echo.
I don't hear any.
Okay, good. So just let me know if you do, and I'll switch back to my headphones.
Okay.
But like for say for instance, good folks that are listening, a good example would be RFID chips. And those are it's kind of like late 1960s, early 1970s technology. And even though the RFID chips are a real thing and they exist, the tech has gone so far beyond that. So it's like with vaccines now. I mean, a lot of people are worried about the chemicals in the vaccines, but what about the nano machines that they're putting into these things, like this guy just described? And it all sounds good, if it's doing something good for your body. But
But how can we know?
how can we know? And
Yeah.
then okay, so then we put all these things together because there's so much with this, Cliff. Just dealing with the coronavirus, right? And I don't know exactly what your sentiments are on the whole thing at this moment. I'm very skeptical, especially since it's China and the way that China controls the media and the way that they could use this particular thing for so many different objectives potentially, right? But
Mhm.
I think it's more about scaring people into the solution than it is about wiping people out with say some sort of bioweapon. I think that's like the way that I see the narrative being played out. We mentioned Bill Gates before, and all the last couple decades of propaganda that has come through in Hollywood and television and everything else, kind of putting this fear of plague, this fear of pandemics in people. And I would say I'm I am concerned about some bioweapon that they would unleash, but I kind of think that really it's more about getting us to accept the solutions. What do you think?
Oh yeah. Oh, now I do hear myself.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Well, because if China it is a place that we can't really know what's going on, right? Because I still hear myself. I'm sorry.
Hang on, I'm switching.
Okay. Should I keep talking? Yeah, we can't really know what's going on in China. And as I have another clip to show, they've recently opened themselves up to their FDA equivalent has opened them up to new approaches to treat illnesses. And what if they bring in all these different new technologies and I mean this guy here, he's been working on this since 92, they say. So I don't know. But what if they bring in these things and magically everyone gets better and then everybody's got to have it, this is the proven, and how can we know? I just don't.
Well, that's it.
I don't know.
And even if it is a solution for one thing, but is it going to leave your body?
Oh yeah.
It's not going to leave.
Just like with the food thing, if we look at how they just destroyed what food is before they're bringing in this new wave of clean and healthy and sustainable and everything, that what if the vaccine industry was made to be so awful? I mean, why did they put that stuff in those shots? Why? If you look at the ingredients list, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why would they do that? Well, maybe it's so bad. So people are like, well, look, this isn't that. This is amazing. It cures Parkinson's too.
That's again too. It's like make something seem toxic, and then bring in a solution that this is much cleaner. See, this is the tech that's coming in now. This isn't full of all these things, and then it's like again when you think, and I can't help it. I can't help it. Like I think it's part of the burden of doing this type of work, but I'm always thinking 5, 10 years in the future. And I'm like, I can't help but think about 5G.
Yeah.
And then, 5G, 6G, whatever it might be at that point in time. And this nanotech in our systems, right? Like, because they say, and they said this when we covered this a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the whole Agenda
And neural
20.
nanobots too.
Yeah, they're,
Sorry.
they're saying that everyone is going to have nanotech in their system by 2030. I guess it's one of their major objectives. Is like we think of all the sort of global initiatives that the carbon things and all the different things that they're trying to accomplish by 2030. But one of them seems to be having nanotech in everyone's system by a certain date. By that date, by 2030.
And how
So-
easily they say they can get it in. I mean, like when we talked about the
Mm.
neural nanorobots, that's when I saw this, they're saying the same thing, topical,
Yeah.
oral. I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean,
Yeah.
how can we ever know? Because you cannot see these things.
Yeah, I mean, it could be sprayed in the sky. It could be in
Anything.
a like a sunscreen, topical gel. It could be in your breakfast cereal.
Seriously.
It could be in your beverages. I mean, it could be in a lot of different things. And maybe this is what the black goo and all that is about eventually.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is scary because it's like, and also like you're talking about how these big tech corporations, these biotech and these big pharma corporations are becoming so powerful, like they're making so much money.
Yeah.
And that makes them dangerous entities moving forward because of the fact that they are international corporations that can skirt any sort of country guidelines and stuff like that. Like, I mean, having factories, say in China and other places in the world where restrictions on what they're doing is not as limiting as it is, say, in North America and stuff like that.
Yeah, they take their trials away, but this guy here, they're in Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. But-
Indian guy here.
Yeah.
And this is his company.
Yeah, he's the guy that's in charge of nanovirusides, all Excel, Cell Excel, and this core technology that they've made little like replacement cells because they want to be able to do factory created replacement cells for treating like neurodegenerative diseases and all sorts of stuff. They want to help us.
Yeah.
They want to help us. It's crazy though.
It is.
They call themselves Trojan horses. So they call it Trojan horses. And that just makes my brain go, wait a minute, what's in there?
That's what we already fear with vaccines is that, okay, maybe they'll treat this certain thing, but what else is in them sort of thing that all the other chemicals and ingredients that are going into these vaccines and what are they doing? And again, too, another thing to consider too is, like the human body, part of or just being a living organism on Earth, part of the whole ability of our immune systems to react to things that come into play. And this is why like so many kids these days are being brought up in these chemically sort of cleansed, play areas and whatnot, right? And then they're not developing their immune systems.
The sanitizers and everything.
Yeah. And it's like it's pretty bad because it's like, do we really have all these massive threats? I mean, the way that they build up for instance, the measles. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip from the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. Thank goodness it's the measles.
That's what my mom said. It was like, in her day, it was like everyone it was a free day home sort of thing, it was like having fun sort of thing. And now it's like, oh my God, this is a horrible infestation. And, and here's another Jewish town in New York State that is infested and we have to go in there and make vaccines mandatory. And yeah, that could be setting the table again. I mean, when we think about all the different ways that these things could enter our system, it's almost like, oh my gosh, you know, you're going to have a hard time in the future because it's going to be, and a lot of this nanotech, as we discussed before, is self-replicating, right? Like that's part of the big fear of nanotech is that it will just start replicating itself infinitely, sort of thing, and then take over the world, because that's the type of tech that that they're developing, sort of thing. So these things, yeah, they're really it's really disturbing. And on one hand, it's like science, and I say this all the time, it's a double-edged sword, and there's a lot of good things that can come out of it, and there's a lot of bad things that can come out of it. You just hope that the right people in the right places are going to be the ones that are going to have the final say on this stuff, and that all of us will have a say on what we put on our body. But yeah, I mean, if we don't even know it, if we're putting on sunscreen or something, or we're inhaling it, I mean, that's pretty bad. That's kind of where it's going.
And how would we know, like, if it just sits there dormant or anything? My last video with the earbuds, it's like, what if they have all of this tech ready to just flip the switch, and change us to where we wouldn't even care? That's the part that gets me. I know
they showed that in the Super Bowl too. Is like the
I didn't watch
halftime
it.
or some of the commercials that were surrounding it. Yeah, they would have there was one video, I think it was a Pepsi one, and I showed a bit, and it was just like a whole bunch of people. They were all dressed the same. They were all dressed in red, and they were all acting like robots. And it was like, ostensibly some sort of empowering type of video, but it was like, whoa, is that like what the future of humanity is going to be? Are we just going to be a bunch of drones in the near future when the tech, really kicks in and takes over, sort of thing? And we go for the upgrades, right? We all go, oh, let's upgrade this, let's upgrade that. Then all of a sudden they flip a switch, and then when we are the Borg collective, sort of thing. So it is pretty disturbing, because I think that even the people that would be developing this stuff would likely, very, very likely, recognize the potential danger, hazards of this type of technology, and that we really are, in every way, shape, and form, we're human guinea pigs. Like everything that's happening, all the foods, like for instance the plant-based burgers, which we've discussed a lot, the synthetic lab-made meats that these things haven't,
and milks, everything.
They haven't tested these things for like decades to determine whether or not they're going to have serious impacts on people's health.
But they're like, oh, it's the molecular equivalent. You don't even need to know where those molecules came from. Everything's okay.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, it's like it almost makes the ingredients list, trivial. Yeah, it's like
don't trust them at all. But it's terrible, because it's all the way down to the plants. Like I know I say it every time, but all of it has to stop. Everything, the whole thing is a mess, the way we're doing everything. And that we've got Bill Gates and all his friends and everybody pushing it all forward. I don't trust them. I would turn away and run from anything, although I think I'm using Microsoft right now. So yeah.
It's amazing too. I mean, he made the world's worst software, and he's like the richest guy in the world.
Look at, I'm going to send you something what Microsoft is invested in. It says here that they invested a couple of years ago. They joined forces. They did a collaboration agreement, but they're working with this group, Adaptive Biotechnologies, to sequence the human immune system too. Whoa. So like not just every little bit of every little life. They just want to know the ins and outs, and then recreate what they need and edit. It's crazy.
Oh, wow, it's nuts. So why is Microsoft invested in Adaptive Biotechnologies? The two companies hope to decode the human immune system.
don't worry, everything will be
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Hey, folks listening, wouldn't it be great if Microsoft, you get that error coming in with this computer has committed an illegal area and will shut down and will be terminated, right?
Um,
What could go wrong? What
yeah,
could
if
go
they
wrong?
learn every little bit of what could affect you and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
to take you down. Yeah, I just, I don't even know. I didn't get to look at that adaptive biotechnologies too much beyond this article, but there's been so many things looking at this topic that have you ever heard of BARDA? To me, it reminded me of DARPA. I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
But it's the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. Do you know them?
Oh, really? Okay. No, I
Yeah.
haven't heard of them. That's sounds rather sinister though.
Yeah, they're figuring
Right.
out all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's nuts because it's like this is, one of the reasons why I like doing these shows with you. I mean, we see all these things because you pay attention to the corporate media, you get what they want you to get, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if you're really looking behind the scenes like CAMILLE is, you're seeing where they're really going, sort of thing, and it's pretty scary. So we have the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. So it is like a bit like DARPA, right?
Isn't it? Yeah.
BARDA. BARDA meet DARPA. DARPA meet BARDA.
And I've seen like that it says in another link that they've invested in a 6-year, $226 million contract to up the capacity to produce vaccines, like the influenza vaccine. But I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to get rid of vaccines altogether straight away, but I could see them going away, and who knows what they're making in these facilities. We don't really know.
That's it. And
Yeah.
what we don't know what the ultimate sort of end game of what they're developing is. Maybe they don't even know though. That's the thing though, is this is all, I guess it's cutting edge sort of technology, but they could let the genie out of the bottle here. They're opening Pandora's box basically when they start putting this stuff into people's systems. But yeah, you have here the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, part of the HHS Office of the Secretary for Preparedness and Response. Isn't that interesting? So the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response was established to aid in securing our nation from chemical, biological, radiological, and other nuclear threats, as well as pandemic influenza and emerging infectious diseases. BARDA supports the transition of medical countermeasures such as vaccines, drugs, and diagnostics from research through advanced development towards consideration for approval by the FDA and inclusion into the the Strategic National Stockpile. BARDA's support includes funding technical assistance and core services ranging from Clinical Research Organization Network to Centers for Innovation in Advanced Development and Manufacturing, and a full Finnish manufacturing network. To date, BARDA has supported 42 FDA approvals for products addressing CBRN, PI, and EID threats. Our mission is accomplished through the successful public-private partnerships with industry to share risk, improve efficiency, and accelerate development, all the while sustaining a marketplace that guarantees continued access to countermeasures vital to our national security.
Yeah, and I see that one of the private or the public-private partnerships that they have, I'm sending you the article here right now, that they have just on yesterday, they posted about how BARDA is partnered with Seqirus, but that they just approved the H5N1 influenza vaccine through the FDA. So that's ready. That's ready. And one thing I found funny on the main page for this Contagion Live yesterday, I was looking at it, there was nothing on the main page about the coronavirus. They didn't seem very worried. I don't know what it looks like today, but yesterday there was nothing.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Really, Contagion Live, infectious diseases today. So yeah, they've been talking about the avian flu back again, the bird flu.
That's
right?
What this is, I think.
Yeah.
Bird flu, yeah.
So the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved an adjuvanted influenza A H5N1 monovalent vaccine. The approval was granted to Seqirus. So Seqirus is a corporation?
Love the name.
Yeah. The vaccine was approved for individuals 6 months of age, 6 months of age or older to protect against influenza A H5N1. The vaccine is first adjuvanted. Am I saying that correctly?
I'm not, it fills it with junk to stimulate your immune system.
Yeah.
Right? That's what that is. Yeah.
Cell-based vaccine designed to be used against H5N1 in a potential pandemic scenario. So they want to put this stuff in for in case there's some.
Yeah. For the next one. For the next one.
Yeah. If the A, which is the H5N1 virus, were to change and become easily transmissible from person to person while retaining its capacity to cause severe disease, the consequences for public health could be serious, with an approximate 60% mortality rate.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, like, what is the so much of this fear that they constantly hit us with? I mean, obviously this is not for us, right? This is something that only people involved in this type of stuff would likely read, but still this fear that they push all the time that, oh, it's not a matter of if, but when, that we're going to have this. And this gives them, if they've convinced enough people of this sort of rhetoric, it gives them the impetus and maybe even the ability to go ahead and develop these these solutions, which are going to be used preemptively. It appears, right? Like to stop. So you want to have these vaccines. Is that the sort of narrative that they want to play out? Is that we have to have these in place. We have to have these vaccines in our system just in case.
Because otherwise it takes months and some people die and it'll spread everywhere. Be afraid. Definitely.
And you see, here they said the FDA granted fast track designation for the vaccine in December 2015. Fast track allows the FDA to expedite review of drugs that fulfill unmet medical need.
Yeah.
And have you looked further into this Seqirus corporation?
No, but I have another fast tracked flu thing, and this one is a company that the Novavax, this is a nano cure. I just sent you the link.
Yeah.
That they come up in a lot of the articles that I've seen that are talking about the biotech that's doing great with the corona, or their stocks are going up. And these guys have received money from Bill and Melinda Gates, of course, for maternal immunizations in the past for this respiratory, this RSV respiratory issue, that if they immunize the moms, it'll go on to the babies and everybody will be just great. And they, on their website, I can send you the link, their website, these guys are making their nanoparticle vaccine technology by genetically engineering insect cells.
Oh boy.
And, ruin it up that way. Let me get it.
This is just nuts.
Oh yeah. And people will be so scared maybe that because that's the problem, is we don't know how to fix ourselves. I totally have some links to plug the herbal school that I do on here, because it's like we need to be able to just take care of ourselves, and then we don't have to be so scared and don't want. I mean, sure, they could make some super thing to sick on us all that nothing would touch, but at least those methods of using nature would allow your body to do what it can against it. This stuff is not going to be the cure. It might be the stop button because it's built into it, but I don't know.
It kind of like shows, because it's like the Elon Musk type characters, right? That we have to merge with machines, basically.
Yeah.
Right? That because machines are gonna or computers are going to vastly outperform us and look at us like we're bacteria or something like that, and wipe us out, most likely. So the only solution then is to merge with the machines, and this all kind of follows that sort of philosophy, right? That they're, we have to
We have to
we-
fill ourselves with nano machines
yeah,
so that we'll be all ready.
we'll be all ready, and it's just more and more of this, and again, like you just said there, and like, like the herbal sort of remedies, the forest, the just natural environment providing you with everything you need. If you were to live, say, like a native Amerindian sort of thing, right, where whatever element you might have, there would be a solution. There'd be some uh, herb or some flower or something that you could get, some that you could make up.
Like they talk about because I watched Contagion over the weekend,
Yeah.
how the forsythia, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many plants that all do similar sort of effects on your body. It wouldn't have to be just one stinking thing, forsythia. But
and again, too, what I said before about, like, that they don't want to let the human body or the human immune system do its work anymore. Like, it's like, what is our immune system so deficient that
well, Bill's gonna find out, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah, they're gonna
figure that out.
That's just nuts. But I wanted to get your opinion on that film Contagion, because I think it's pretty apt right now.
Yeah, so they're telling people to watch that
Yes.
right now. Is that
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that would scare the daylights. You gotta love how the CDC and everyone's fighting for you. I mean, to the point of death. They put their lives on the line. I love how they go in and they interview people that are sick and they don't have anything protecting their eyes or anything.
Mhm.
It's like, the whole thing was, I don't know. It was interesting. It's been a while since I watched a movie, but it was.
It's a bad movie.
Yeah.
In many ways, but it's kind of you should kind of see it. I mean, you shouldn't see it if you're not aware of the vaccine agenda and big pharma and Agenda 21 and all that, because you're just going to play right in, because it's going to fill you with fear. And it taps in so much of it predictively shows, like, predictively programs you for the Wuhan virus, like the origins of the virus itself from a Chinese market, very much the same, although they say it's a snake in the Wuhan virus or the coronavirus. In the movie, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a
bat with a banana and a pig or something.
Yeah, and a pig. And it was a pig, and then it went through the airports. It was the
the pig went off and is sent off to a chef who touches this dead pig and then goes and shakes Gwyneth's hand.
Yeah, shakes Gwyneth's hand, and then she gets sick, and then the thing is, and then they show the air. That, to me, that was probably the most disturbing element, because I only saw it once way back, I think shortly after it came out, but I remember the scene where she's on the plane and it's like she's sneezing, and then they're showing the whole air recycling system, just giving you this, amping up this fear, like, that if you're on a plane and there's contagion, right, it's like almost everybody's going to get sick, sort of thing. And then when you see it, like, in a lot of the films, like, and I've mentioned a bunch of them, one of them springs to mind is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and even with the Event 201 or Event 21, really, they showed planes as being the deliverers of the vaccine or of the virus itself, sort of thing. So you get this, like, if people haven't seen the film Contagion, it really taps into your fears of a pandemic. And
they're showing it can start spreading. That thing was immediately, like, she shook that guy's hand and then she touched this and that everybody.
And then they have we talked about this when I was doing the show with TMF there, with the Jude Law conspirati theorist
with that
character.
Tooth hooked onto the front of his tooth. What a weird looking character.
They had to give him, like, bad teeth, basically, because
Yeah.
he's too handsome, to pull off that role. So they're like, oh, we got to make him a little bit, imperfect. And he's the conspiracy theorist that's putting out bad information that leads to people dying, basically.
Yeah. The
And
fear is more deadly.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's like it's interesting because that's way back in
11, I think.
2011. Yeah, so 2011. So it even predates my sort of work on YouTube and doing this type of conspiracy realm stuff. But they anticipated back then that that type of stuff there would be, conspiracies floating around and people would be questioning it. And you see how they depict the CDC, as like these tireless scientists that are running around, like depriving themselves of sleep and doing everything they can to try to save those poor people.
Yeah.
It's
And the
really-
she injects herself. She's so brave.
yeah,
She's
she's
Yeah.
like, damn, to hell with the trying this out on animals. I'll just do it myself, sort of thing. Take the
Yeah.
risk. And that puts that trust, because then people see that. And again, like with the CDC, there's so many shady things with the CDC. In fact, in the future, that would be worthy of a whole podcast, just looking into what the CDC gets involved in, because we covered so much back in 2014 and the shenanigans that they were involved with the whole Ebola saga that unfolded. But yeah, these movies serve to reinforce your belief in the corporatocracy. And don't worry, they're gonna say, no, let's just put on CNN, just do what they tell you to do. And then in the end, they give out, like, you get the vaccines, right? And people are fighting to get the vaccines, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
yeah.
Like, right? Like, yeah, zap me first. give me the Bill Gates thing first. Of course, they're actually dying in the film because of the plague that's or the virus that's wreaking havoc. But people go crazy. They show a kind of a breakdown of civilization, and then in the end, when the people do get their vaccine, they're identified with a permanent sort of bracelet, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, that would probably be, I don't know if that was, I think it was you that mentioned that it was like under the skin that they want to put.
Yeah, the Particles for Humanity people that can be easily read with like a cell phone technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's almost like 2011 tech, where it's all
Yeah.
going. It's like, it's so hard to keep abreast with where it's all going, because it's changing so rapidly. And it's like, that's, to me, we're on that precipice where it's like we're going to dive into this whole nanotech, AI brain chip, sort of new humans, cloning, all these things happening at the same time. And it's scary.
Yeah, I mean they're coming out like, look at this thing that's just taking off and is really being funded, but they've been working on it for 30 years with these making cells. But we only just hear about it when we hear about it. Yeah, it's all already ready.
And then you hear about it in a a publication that is favorable to whatever tech is coming. That's like, there's most of these scientific sort of publications are just going to cheerlead, whatever corporate. They're going to say, oh, well, this corporation's doing this, that, and that. Well, I don't know. Have you been there? Do you know exactly what they're up to? That's what they're claiming, sort of thing.
Yeah. And then they're saying that they're approaching human trials here, that they've already gone through all the safety testing stuff, that won the Novavax, that one, that they come right out and say there's been no studies. There's been no. This was the one that they fast tracked. Oh no, that was a different one. Sorry, that's the
that scare people too when they say fast tracked.
Yeah,
it's like they've fast tracked this flu vaccine. It's like, whoa, why are you fast tracking it? What's going on here?
You've got to hurry.
Well, you see all the articles here. I don't know if you see my screen, but you can see Contagion, of course, is trending massively, and all these people. And it's interesting. I've seen this with a lot of YouTubers, like a lot of the just, I don't know, you could say shills, but probably just ignorant people that have big YouTube channels that say, watch the movie Contagion. It shows you everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's great. You know, people are going to be lining up at the CDC in
Aren't they
hazmat
saying?
suits.
Aren't they saying that this started in December? I mean, how? Maybe I'm not remembering the timeline of the movie, but wouldn't it be even bigger? Especially, I mean, another thing too.
Yeah.
I've seen the maps, like the contagion, on that Contagion Live, they had the outbreak maps, and it didn't even look like anything had happened in Africa. Have you heard that if anything has happened in Africa? They have
With the
a million.
coronavirus?
Yeah, they have 1 million plus Chinese people
Yeah,
living
yeah,
and
yeah.
traveling back and forth, but I haven't seen
That's
any
okay.
African
So,
countries.
and the fact that, like, okay, so the symptoms are so similar to the flu, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first thing that people should pay attention to. Secondly, the fact that there's so few people around the world, even though it's a big deal, you know, there's like 6 people, and I don't know how many people in Canada. There's under half a dozen, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact that it's such a small number in most of these countries would lead me to believe that this thing is being staged. To
Oh
a
yeah,
certain
like when
point.
Ebola hit the
Yeah.
continent. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what I was saying to folks last week. I said you're going to know within a week or so whether it's a pandemic, because if it's a pandemic, they can't fake that. There's no way they can fake that, because then, you know, you're just going to have people dying in the streets, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people putting out these videos from China, and like you look at these videos, like I've seen some of the videos, like hidden camera China. And it's
Yeah.
like there's a hidden camera, and it's a guy, he's walking right up to, they've got like these trucks that have bodies, but you can't really see the bodies. You just see body bags, right, with what looks like bodies in them. And then they're walking right into hospital rooms where they're working on patients. And it's like, you know, like, this is China. You can just walk around like that, just walk into anything. I don't know about that. And I wonder if maybe the Chinese government might be, you know, because what would a Chinese person, would Chinese people in Wuhan know, if this thing is somewhat of a government sort of plot, basically, right? Like that the communist sort of Chinese dictatorship is doing this massive sort of fear experiment. And you know, and then of course with the 5G as well, the interesting thing, again, you can't really, but it is interesting. It is very interesting. Like, there's no way I want to be anywhere near 5G, like, like, period. And the fact that you've got one of the very first, if not the first city in the world to have a 5G sort of network set up, and coincidentally, it just happens to be the one that has this virus. Yeah, it makes it suspicious. So I am skeptical of what you see coming out of China. Even though they built that massive hospital, right? Which, did you see that, by the way?
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah. Didn't Now This have like live coverage? Oh no, that was, sorry.
but that's what China does all the time, though.
Yeah.
And it's a way of showing off too. Because do you think, like, it'd be almost impossible for the United States to match that, like, to build something that big that fast?
Yeah.
Only China can do that. Like, China just is in a different level when you look at their cities and you look at the skyscrapers that they build. I mean, they build like 50, 60-story skyscrapers in like 2 weeks.
And just like China's building ports all over Africa, and
Yeah.
bus systems in Cuba, and they're everywhere doing all these things. Maybe they'll export their Insta hospitals.
Yeah, well, that too, yeah.
Yeah.
And it also works because it sends a positive message to the people that the government is taking it seriously, and they're providing, the state is there. Again, you know, it's very difficult for us to know, but the fact, and you look at all the predictive programming, and one of the best examples of that being the Event 201 there with Bill Gates and co, where they're predicting some massive sort of pandemic emanating from China, almost to a T, exactly what you've seen happen. It just seems to fit the narrative that the more fear that they can push onto the populations, the more constant sort of this always, like, you know, think about it, Camille. In the 50s, you know, well before my time, your time, right? But the 50s, think about the kids then, what were they constantly drilled? You know, say in the United States, for instance, right? The Cold War, and you had the threat of imminent nuclear sort of disaster, and so you had the duck and cover where kids are going underneath the desk and covering their and putting their hands on their head and stuff like that. And you know, and then you've had over the past decade or so in the United States and in Canada, you've had these shooting drills and the school shootings and all these things. It's a way of like it's a way of control, like
And like normalizing the fear.
yes,
Everybody's, yeah.
because
Yeah.
fear leads to control. And you know, it was ironic because I was up late the other night doing research on motorcycle gangs here in Quebec.
Fun.
Of all things. Yeah, it's quite a history. And I was reading, you know, like again, like how did, because there's like horrible bloody biker wars that have gone on, hundreds and hundreds of people have been killed, Hell's Angels fighting, you know, mafia backed biker gangs and stuff like that, and just brutal. And it's fear that rules the streets in say places like Montreal when it comes to the drug trade. Fear is how you control people, and this
Yeah.
is used throughout history. Like you can control, like you can win people's respect, right? And that is a method that can be used and probably should be used in most cases. But the reality is, throughout history, it's really fear that keeps people in line. So when we have, if you think about it, there's always a fear, there's always a threat. So if it's not the Cold War, if it's not, say, school shootings, if it's not the terrorists, the boogeyman, the al-Baghdadis or the Osama bin Ladens, right? It's, if it's not white supremacists, like it's always something, right? It's the big bad pandemics. And the pandemic sort of programming that has been ubiquitous all over the place. The top trending games, the top selling games on the iOS, for instance, you know, Plague Incorporated and things like
Yeah,
that.
that's nuts.
It's nuts. And you know, it inverts what really should be happening in a game like that, where you'd be trying to save humanity. Well, everything these days, by the way, is an inversion like that. Like all the games and movies, it's usually the bad people that win. The gore has been amped up, the sex has been amped up to the nth degree, the debauchery is all around us, and the fear is always present. Like we're always living in fear. And even in this realm where we are, where we try to step outside the box, there still is a lot of fear. I mean, we're scared about the tech, rightfully so. But again, you know, like fear is a way of controlling people. So I would suspect that a lot of what is transpiring is exactly this. It's like we need to, like the Bill Gates people of the world, they want to use fear to condition us all into accepting mandatory vaccines. And then with mandatory vaccines, you know, we get the nanotech and whatever else comes with it. So I believe that this is ultimately what they're trying to do, is just, you know, scare us constantly into accepting whatever they've got planned for us, you know.
Oh yeah, and one thing I didn't say for the nanovirusides people is that they're supposed to be way faster than getting the vaccines to market, sort of thing. Not only is the shingles vaccine, or not vaccine, but their shingles treatment, not only is that already going to human trials, and all they have to do for their technology is edit the little virus adapter parts on their fake cells, but not only that it's so fast. So it's 30 to 60 days. They were saying years ago on the interviews with the CEO and stuff, that how fast they can put that out. So if they're like, we don't have a vaccine, but we have this thing, and it's like, who does it? I mean, nanovirusides, I don't know. If people looked and saw that it was nano machines, maybe that would make them hesitate, but I don't know.
This is interesting too. I just checked here for coronavirus here, and we've got this Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. I don't know what nationality this dude is, but he's retweeting all this stuff here. And one of the things that he had here that was here's Katy Perry.
Oh, listen to your influencers.
So this is a great message of solidarity from Katy Perry to the people of China. Couldn't agree more. We are all in this together, and we can only stop it together. Thank you for lending your voice to such an important cause. So I just want to see what she says here.
I can't hear it. We got the stereo thing going on.
Yeah. How do I see?
Sorry.
I wish it's not. It's this is the trouble because Google took away the Google Hangouts, and so I'm using StreamYard to do this, and it makes it a bit complicated because you can't use OBS. Maybe I could. I mean, I have to figure that out, right? Sort of thing. Because OBS actually works really well like that. Because then you can switch around quickly. But yeah, what is she saying here? She's actually, I'll switch it around. I'll play it for you. You want to hear it?
Sure.
Okay, hang on a second. There's gonna be some noise.
Okay. Who wouldn't want to hear what Katy Perry has to say, right?
Let's hear what the Dragon Lady here, Katy Perry, has to say about the coronavirus. This was tweeted 1 hour ago.
Hi everyone in China, it's Katy Perry. I just wanted to send a message to you to let you know that we are all with you during this time, and to keep fighting and stay healthy and positive as best as you can. We're thinking of you. We are sending our prayers, and we're going to get through this. Jaiyo.
Oh, I feel better.
I'm sure everyone in China is like, oh, thank God. Wow. Just pure nothing burger there. But I mean, it's just, you just see so you've got his position here, Director General of World Health Organization. So this is the Director General of the WHO here. I don't even know how to pronounce his name here. Ghebreyesus. You could take
It's a good effort anyway.
they're like the United Nations of Muppets, right? These characters. But what is he saying here? We can, and tell me if the echo comes in here.
Okay.
We can only defeat the 2019 and the novel coronavirus outbreak with global solidarity. And that starts with collective participation in global surveillance.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, what a scumbag.
Don't worry,
So-
everybody.
Collective participation in global surveillance with sharing information. Solidarity, solidarity, solidarity. He's got to say fight, fight, fight. Wow. That's just astonishing. And then he's saying here, we call on member states to, 1, share information about the coronavirus with the WHO. Do not impose restrictions inconsistent with international health regulations. Facilitate public-private collaboration for the development of tools to end the outbreak. I love it when they say that public-private. It's like,
yeah.
it's like we have any, it's like, yeah, we're all part of it, These corporations. Here he said an hour ago, we are convening a global research meeting next week to identify research priorities in all areas, the 2019 coronavirus outbreak, from identifying the source of the virus to developing vaccines and therapeutics. And then they're saying the WHO here is sending all this, 500,000 masks, 350,000 pairs of gloves, 40,000 respirators, 18,000 isolation gowns, and 250,000, test over 70 laboratories. Very interesting. It's always really eye-opening to see, like, to go into these Twitter, like going to these United Nations members and their Twitter, like to see the whole game kind of being played out here. And then here they are doing their massive briefing here. I guess this was in New York here.
Do they have
You know.
masks on?
Yeah. I love it. Christopher Green. That was just the fun. I don't know if you know what I'm
No.
talking about.
I know who you're talking about. But,
Yeah.
Oh, there I hear myself. Sorry.
Okay, here I'm gonna switch back. Unless you want me to play something else right now, let me know.
Well, I did just send you
Okay.
the link for that lady saying how last year China conveniently changed things around to be more accepting to
Let's
these.
play that then, and then I'll switch back.
It should be queued up, right?
Okay,
But the
excellent.
guy will be talking first.
Okay, so hang on a second here. I'm gonna open another window.
And this is pre-coronavirus. This is July or something. Good day, bio.
Good day, bio. They're our friends.
Yeah.
Good day, bio. We're saving the world. Okay, here we go.
Glad to be here. So just based on the sheer size of the population, the medical need is so great in China, especially as it's continuing to develop. So how easy or daunting is it to try to bring therapies to the Chinese population?
Go ahead.
It's becoming much easier. In the past 12 to 24 months, Chinese and FDA has adopted a number of amendments. It makes easier for multinationals to conduct trials in China. Most importantly, the interest from the China side remain extremely strong to bring cutting-edge medicines to Chinese market.
So that's the opportunity. What are the top
All right.
challenges in biotech?
Okay.
So 12 to 24 months, but yeah, they're
Interesting.
because so many trials are done in Africa and India and Bangladesh, but now China too.
We want to make sure China.
Captive population, probably pretty darn easy to track. You know? Oh, you're gone again.
And it all
There you
fits
are.
the timing as well. I just switched back, so
Yeah.
get rid of that echo. But yeah, that's the timing of it, right? That they just did this, and you see the date there on this particular video is June the 4th, 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah, very interesting. What else?
Because there's all these big conventions and incubator groups like the crazy people that sorry, it's not really on Corona, but the other video that I did, the headset thing, the earbuds.
Oh no, I like that. That was excellent, by the way.
Thank you. That's crazy. And the video that I got those clips from, I linked to it in the sources. I was having a discussion because James Corbett put it in his new newsletter, and that we were talking about it, some of us over on Corbett Report, and people are freaking out about the video that clip comes from, is this Neo life, and the whole thing, it's less than 2 hours, I want to say, but it's packed. I have 20 plus timestamp screenshots from things going, oh my gosh. Somebody commented that they watched 7 minutes of it, and now they have to watch The Exorcist a few times to cheer themselves up, because it's insane what these people are doing, and it's science,
So yeah, what Camille's referring to, like her latest video dealing with, they're going to be using ears, and so they're using wireless technology, and through the ear canals they can
read and
tap
write
in.
the
Yeah,
brain.
they can read and write into your brain. Like they're like, wow, the ear canals actually have so much potential in this technology. And that's so people out there, I have one set, or actually I have two crappy sets of Wi-Fi headphones, but they're like the big bulky ones you walk around with. But these little AirPods and stuff, these like latest tech, you should be concerned about those.
Oh yeah, but it gives me extra hope. I mean, I already think that it's going to be okay. That's where I'm, because we're talking about these things, and I think we're crumbling, whatever. But who knows? But if it's as simple as, for some of the control to be, if they're wearing these earbuds, if it's as simple as people finding out, don't put those things in your ear, if they wouldn't be able to do one aspect, I don't know, that makes me feel kind of good. If people, I know only so many are seeing it
Well,
on my video, but I got comments. I saw this on a mirror. I'm from Australia, and like other people are sharing it, so that's wonderful. I love
yeah,
it.
that's great. That's great. The and that's it, eventually it's going to be in your ear.
Yeah.
It's going to be it's not that far off is where it's all going. So and I talked about this a lot like way back in 2014, 2015 with the Apple Watch and how the tech just gets closer to the body all the time.
Yeah.
And this is all by design. Like they want to um, ease you into transhumanism. They want to ease you into this. And yeah, we're going to be, I mean, the 5G, for instance, like we were showing the commercials. I was showing it last night on Monday Madness. It's really disturbing too because it's being sold by the big tech corporations as like firemen now can
Oh yeah. I
see
have to
through
do this.
smoke.
I have to do this video still. That's the 5G Trojan horse.
Yeah.
That's their word again. Like it's
And they had one commercial that they showed during the Super Bowl, and it was pretty disturbing. It was like a black guy and his mother, and neither of them seemed to be in a relationship or have any, you know, husband, wife, or anything. And the mother has got the latest 5G tech, Verizon, right, with the V, and you know, and she keeps calling her son like from everywhere. Ah, it works. It works in the cellar. Ah, it works at the mall. Works at the yoga. Works at the, you know, she just keeps calling him
oh
up.
gosh.
And it's like, wow. So they're selling you this that you know like the whole thing that they're pushing for 5G is that hey, it's gonna work better. It's gonna work in a tunnel. It's gonna work. You know, if you're in the basement, it's going to work. If you're in an elevator, it's going to work. If you're in an airport, it's going to work here. It's going to work there.
Because there will be antennas everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, and then the other commercials that they're showing how they can see through walls and everything. I mean, this is well known with 5G technology is that the government, the corporations, the corporatocracy itself will be able to spy on anyone, which they already do to a certain extent, but it'll give them just unbelievable. I mean, they'll be able to get, and they're probably using the smart meters and everything else to really get that full sort of surveillance state implemented. But this is where we're heading. And then, yeah, if you just think of the surveillance part of 5G, then you're negating or you're forgetting that, you know, this tech could be used in conjunction with the aforementioned nanoparticles and viruses and whatever, or vaccines, right? That the tech that could be in our bodies as well, and other particles that they could be putting into our foods could, you know, be adversely affected by the 5G.
The foods thing, that just,
Yeah.
because how that, I know I mentioned it before, how they were talking that they were going to do a trial for a third of the Medicare patients here, that they were going to change it so that their doctor got a set amount of money each year to keep their patients healthy. And if they don't spend it all, they get to keep it. And that, I mean, if they're talking about, and that they are talking about meal plans and things like that, and if this stuff is all able to be taken, the nano or the neural nano robots and the nanovirus sort of Venus flytraps are all able to be taken orally. So what if that ends up in these meal kits that they send? I could even see it going to like a bar or a drink and people accepting just that instead of having to put things together and cook, and because that'd be more sustainable, less packaging. You know, everything, less waste to taste good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, exactly.
packed with your
it's how it's all going, right? Our food is becoming more and more synthetic, and it, like so far
nature
away from
identical, Jeff. Nature identical.
Yeah, it's so disturbing. It's like the whole trick is to make you think it's nutritious and it's wholesome when it's anything but, right? And it's like it's not. You are what you eat. I mean, we say it all the time, but it's so true, right? And it's like, well, you're going to eat plant-based burgers, so you're going to be some synthetic sort of biotech creation from a lab from Tel Aviv or something, right? Enjoy, you know, your meals, sort of thing. And as well, one of the things that they're doing with these blue menus, which is a little bit off topic, but kind of similar, is that these pre-made meals, I think, setting the table for rations that will come in the
Oh,
future.
yeah. Absolutely. Yep. You get
Right?
this many calories.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. Which they show in their Plandopolis and all this. So I've got up here on the screen Johnson & Johnson launch response to coronavirus here.
I was reading their press release or whatever on it. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have that printed out with me.
So yeah, Johnson & Johnson announced the Janssen pharmaceutical companies will work collaboratively to screen for antiviral therapies and vaccine therapies against the coronavirus here. So Johnson, I'm going to make this bigger here. Johnson & Johnson have announced that the Janssen, okay, we read that. The companies will work to create a vaccine and collaborate with other laboratories to screen for possible antiviral therapies. The companies hope, they hope, they just want to save everyone. The companies hope that by screening their library for compounds with the anti-2019 coronavirus thing, they can contribute to relief efforts.
Their library.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then Johnson & Johnson has a long-standing commitment to fight established and emerging epidemics and is supporting global efforts where we can make the greatest impact. We are collaborating with Bill Gates, with regulators, healthcare organizations, institutions, and communities worldwide to help ensure our research. Whatever happened to like just making like shampoo or something, right? It's like we're trying to save the world, you know? It's like, yeah, really?
All the tentacles.
Yeah, exactly. Healthcare organizations, institutions, and communities worldwide to help ensure our research platforms, existing science, and outbreak expertise can be maximized to stem this public health threat, said Dr. Paul Stoffels, Vice Chairman of Executive Committee and Chief Scientific Officer at Johnson & Johnson. The latest outbreak here, I'm going to highlight just this part here. Latest outbreak of a novel pathogen once again reinforces the importance in investing in preparedness, surveillance, and response to ensure the world remains ahead of pandemic threats. And I mentioned this too with the surveillance, the 5G, because think about it. Like, let's say hypothetically there is a pandemic happening in China. The government can be using the 5G to determine who's infected.
Yeah.
Like that's a very, very, very almost definite sort of possibility, folks, is that technology has the ability to determine the person's body temperature and, you know, whether they have a fever or anything like that, or whether if they would have those, you would be able to detect that through people's walls and stuff like that.
Well, if they've got the nano machines and they're working with, it's like the animal tags that the one video I did where they're tracking all the livestock, you know, that they can tell all sorts of things about what's going on with their body with ingestibles.
Yeah.
Or the ones on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is so again, this is from the European Pharmaceutical Review here. I got this one here too. Gilead's
Sorry? I just sent you their news release on it. That's the one that
ironically, I just had this not the exact same article, but
no, it's from them. But this is the one that has not been demonstrated to be safe or effective for any use. But they are working with health authorities in China to establish some trials.
So
they're so open.
Gilead, is this from Tel Aviv? Gilead Sciences statement on the company's ongoing response to the 2019 novel coronavirus. Gilead Sciences today issued the following statement from Mehrdad Parsi, MD, PhD, Chief Medical Officer, Gilead Sciences. Gilead is working closely with global health authorities to respond to the novel coronavirus outbreak through the appropriate experimental use of our investigational compound, remdesivir. This is it, remdesivir?
Sure.
Together with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, aka Monsanto, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, of course, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Sciences, the Chinese CDC, and the National Medical Product Administration, and the World Health Organization, of course, and the U.S. National Institute. Like all of these,
What
they're
about
all
BARDA? Is BARDA in there?
yeah. I mean, like
Read them.
they've all been working together, and I mean, doesn't anybody find something weird about this? That you have these corporations that are working with all these different sort of governmental and world body, United Nations based organizations, and Chinese, communist government sort of health departments, that they're
Oh, yeah.
all working together, and it's like,
I
what?
certainly don't think it's all about the money, but holy smokes, they've got to be just cashing in.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's always a given, But yeah, that's true. And so Gilead is focused on contributing our antiviral expertise and resources to help patients and communities fighting the 2019 coronavirus. Remdesivir here is not licensed or approved anywhere globally and has not been demonstrated to be safe or effective for any use. But we're going to use it anyways.
Yeah, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, you don't mind. We'll test it on you. It'll be like the CDC in the movie Contagion. The girl there, the scientist. So is it Kate Winslet? She just pulls it out and tests it on herself. It's like,
No, it's a different one.
Oh,
Some other lady.
it was
Kate
some
died,
other-
I think. She
okay.
died.
Yeah, it's been so long
Sorry,
since I've seen.
spoilers.
At the request of treating physicians and with the support of local regulatory agencies who have weighed the risks and benefits of providing an experimental drug with no data in 2019 coronavirus, Gilead has provided remdesivir for use in small number of patients for emergency treatment in the absence of any approved treatment. So the guinea pigs.
Yeah,
Right.
and it says later on that there was also limited clinical data available for the emergency use of this with Ebola. So, yeah, I don't know. And I know Jules had messaged me earlier, like that they're trying HIV treatments and all this stuff.
yeah.
It's like, let's just throw everything at it.
Yeah.
We'll get some safety studies done.
That is so interesting. So the article that I had here, where was it here? Yeah,
Okay.
Gilead Sciences is testing antiviral drug to treat coronavirus. I do believe that I have the one here on the HIV as well. Here's one here from, look at all these websites here. Pharma Forum.
Yeah.
Big Pharma joins hunt for coronavirus vaccine is out. This is back from January 24, so that's an older article. Get rid of that one. Here's one from just yesterday. As China battles coronavirus, should other countries be worrying about their drug supply? Fierce Pharma.
Yeah, I've got some of theirs.
That's got to be apt. Fierce Pharma.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to worry that, and it's just so nuts where we are as a civilization, that everything is just this global beast, right? It's just this. I mean, that's what we're seeing. I mean, the language that's coming forth, all these international organizations and multinational corporations that are working tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that we're all morally safer.
That's
They're
right.
just so concerned that
You don't
some
have
people
to know
might
how
die.
to do anything for yourself. The experts
Yeah.
are on the job. Yeah.
And that's the rhetoric that the the new sort of censored internet. Of course, we talked about this with the event 201 or event 21, more aptly, Agenda 21, but the whole necessity that the international sort of bodies need to take control of the internet in case of a worldwide pandemic to control the flow of information. And that's what is likely to happen if one of these things does, actually
Go live.
become a real pandemic sort of thing. And then people like us wouldn't be able to reach anyone, basically.
Oh, sure, because they're sending those videos are leaking out of China. Look at the fear. People are so afraid. We can't have that.
Yeah,
Can't have
we
that.
can't have that because people will die.
Yeah.
And because of Jude Law.
Yeah. Damn him. Yeah.
Well, I showed the Jude Law character on YouTube. His name is Jordan Sather. And this guy has made international headlines. I don't know if you heard this, but he's like, do you know who he is? He's like,
no, I'd never heard of him before.
oh, he's an actor playing a conspiracy theorist on YouTube. There's a lot of them. But he plays a character that pushes. He's probably best known for QAnon.
Okay.
So he's part of the QAnon collective sort of operation, and he made notoriety before for being one of the ones pushing the coffee enemas to treat cancer and stuff.
Yeah, they do that. I think it's the Gershon people in Mexico or something too.
Yeah.
Coffee enemas. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and just recently he's been telling people to drink bleach.
Oh, the bleach thing. So when did he do that? When was he pushing that? You should have mentioned it.
Yeah, well, we can ask Google maybe.
If Google wants to tell us.
The Jordan Sather bleach. Here. There's one from 7 days ago here, New York Mag. Let's see. I have the one here from. I guess that's the same. Okay, yeah. So it seems like it's around, but it may have been earlier than that. This is the one off the Daily Beast here. Here.
Good source.
Got the Q, you know, with the bleach.
I asked because I heard you mention it and it made me think of, I just linked to, I put the search on Mumby's YouTube that there was a guy, it was like a pastor or something that was pushing this bleach cure 8 months ago in Uganda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's that
interesting.
MMS stuff, which I didn't look at. You know, I don't know.
What did Mumby say? Did she?
Oh, she was mad.
Okay, good.
But then at the same time, people were saying, I think in the comments, like, you don't know that this isn't. I don't know what this MMS stuff is. Like, if it's straight up bleach, Clorox. I don't know, but that was the story. Was
yeah, because like the way that it is delivered by Jordan Sather, it wouldn't be like, I doubt he's saying like, okay, pour yourself a glass of bleach and drink it because you'll die. But it's like some concoction that has bleach in it, and
but maybe they can get a few people to try just.
Yeah. So it's called the Miracle Mineral Solution, MMS here, and has long been promoted by. So they're saying here it's been long promoted by fringe groups as a combination miracle cure and vaccine for everything from autism to cancer to HIV/AIDS.
Yeah.
The Food and Drug Administration has repeatedly warned consumers not to drink MMS last year, calling it effectively a dangerous bleach that could cause severe vomiting, acute liver failure. But those warnings haven't stopped QAnon devotees who who believe in a world where Donald Trump is at war with a shadowy deep state cabal.
Oh. I don't watch that show, but
man, that just cracks me up. It's just so silly. And from promoting a lethal substance as a salve for the health crisis that speaks to the darkest recesses of the fringe thought. And then here's Jordan Sather's quote here. I'm going to have to get home and MMS the whole state, prominent promoter Jordan Sather told his audience in a recent video. MMS the whole shit out of everything.
Oh my.
So they and again, that kind of ties into the control of information where, you know, you strategically position characters to push certain absurdities so that the court they did the same thing during Pizzagate, right? And they've done it over and over again. Flat Earth is an excellent example where they populate the conspiracy realm with people pushing absurdities, and then they use the absurdities that these people push to as for a reason why we have to crack down. We can't have bad information because, hey, you know what's going to happen? There's going to be an outbreak and people are going to start drinking bleach. So that's an interesting little side story, which we have covered. This is they show the massive hospital being built, which I think was a big show in itself that they seem to really like to put like it seemed like all over the corporate media they were and on Twitter it was all over Twitter, like China building this hospital in 10 days.
Oh yeah, my news feed or not my news feed, my YouTube feed had two different. Well, of course I do follow Chinese propaganda, but that they had live coverage constantly, the whole build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just clicked on the 2019 this sort of, and then the World Health Organization here had a tweet. How dangerous is the, and then they got, as with any other respiratory illness, infection from the coronavirus can cause mild symptoms, including runny nose, sore throat, cough, and fever. It can be more severe for some persons, and it can lead to pneumonia or breathing difficulties. So, you know, it's like basically the flu. Right?
Yeah.
And then they've got here, ABS CBN News earlier today falsely reported that Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Lawson, Locson, in a Senate hearing in the 2019 coronavirus, accused the United States of engineering a bioweapon against China. So these, yeah, again, these are the types of false narratives potentially that they put out, right? That conspiracy people will run with. I believe they do that on purpose. Well, obviously they do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And then somebody else here is putting out, while everyone is losing their SHIT over the coronavirus, it's worth remembering that about 80,000 people died from the flu. 80,000 died. Get the flu shot.
Oh boy. Get
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, the new one.
80,000. Well, I mean, probably most of them were very old. And, you know, when you get old, your immune system starts to break down. So, it can be the flu that starts the process, but you're just.
How many of them got the shot?
That's it, too.
Yeah.
We don't, they don't keep those stats, or they don't make those stats public.
If only we
Imagine
had better
that.
tracking.
Yeah, that's just nuts, too. And they're
Yeah.
using the purple here. And it's like, look at this. I mean, this is so crappy here. The Weather Channel. The flu is now widespread to 49 states. Take precautions. It's like everybody here, 49 states. The only one that I guess that might be free is Hawaii.
Everyone head there.
Yeah,
Would be okay.
This is just, yeah, it's just nuts. So, all right. So, do you have anything else you want me to show here, or?
Yeah, hang on. I do. Can I plug Doc's information real quick? Okay.
Absolutely.
So this is I'm going to send you the link. This is free. He did a respiratory seminar. This is my herbalist. He's just great. But he did a free one there on YouTube. And then he has all sorts of his schooling stuff that's available in little pieces. And it's just teaching you how to use weeds, how to use the stuff that's growing all around us that hopefully they haven't gotten to yet, and you haven't sprayed CAMILLE on. Don't find your plants by the side of the road, but there's all kinds of things. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's a great seminar thing. And totally should subscribe, because he's been doing a lot of these. He just did one on herbal pain management. And he's great. But
so does this guy live near you, sort of thing?
No, he's in Idaho or something. But I just sent you the link to the one module that's just on the respiratory system. But he has an entire herbal school that it's like, because you got to look into these things, because some plants are not good for some people to take. Some plants are just dangerous for, like, St. John's wort. There are some people that should never take St. John's wort, and some other things that amplify things that you might be doing. So it's a good idea to learn about them. But this is a way that we don't have to be afraid, because you can work with your own body and not have to outsource all your needs. We already have to go to the big guys for so much of our food. People shouldn't have to rush off to the hospital or the doctor's office. That's the module for just his respiratory thing, and you can go to his online school, and just it's packed. Your whole body, how to help yourself.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yes. And these are things that have been used for how long? These plants. I mean, there's no need to worry that they haven't been demonstrated safe or effective.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty cool. It's always good to give folks, you know, a bit of a positive sort of information that
Yeah.
can empower them, and you know,
Maybe
again,
cut down the fear a little, because the fear is
Yeah.
bad for you. It's bad,
It
and
is.
they
That's-
know it. They
yeah,
know
I mean,
what they're doing.
they're
to you.
using the fear
Yeah.
to bring in all the solutions. That's how it works. It's the Hegelian dialectic, right? Just being played out. So we get the fear, and the fear is, well, you have to trust, and this is like when I say the whole, you know, the rainbow sort of programming of the masses, where you know they, you know, Black Lives Matter, you know, science is real, love is love. You know, they want
Yeah.
you to reinvest in the established authority, the New World Order itself. They want you just to say, trust in what your government, trust in what the corporatocracy, trust in what Google, you know, trust in what Johnson and Johnson or whoever, these massive corporations, pharmaceutical corporations who are involved in these, trust in the vaccines, right? Just don't worry. It's all, you know, there's nothing to worry about.
You don't need to think.
Well, actually,
Just-
they want you to
yeah.
work. That's the thing, though. They do, because all the, again, you watch Contagion, you watch The Walking Dead, you watch. I imagine there's a gazillion show. There's a show called The Strain. There's a whole bunch of shows out there that I've never seen that deal with pandemics. Stephen King, apparently, The Stand. They're making a remake of it. World War Z. I mean, there's umpteen gazillion zombie movies, video games, so many of them. Last of Us, you know, just over and over again with these types of pandemics that come out. So everyone that is like, if you're not, if you're just in the typical sort of Homer Simpson type lifestyle, which it means, you know, you come back, you watch the football, you watch the main shows on television, right? You probably watch television before you go to bed at night, and you eat the foods that, you know, you don't really think about what you're buying. You buy the orange juice, you buy the, you know, whatever the produce, you buy the chips and snackies and all those things. The average person is being inundated with massive amounts of fear programming. This is something I covered hugely in the 2014 Ebola saga. I made a real emphasis of showing folks how many different ways that the vaccine and the pandemic sort of agenda is being pushed. And this is like, again, when I see the popular YouTubers, I have to laugh, because they tell you things like this. Like, I don't know how many I've heard say this. Oh, watch the movie Contagion. That shows you everything. You know, of course, that's what they want you to watch, you, because they want you to fear. And then, of course, and again, and one of the things in Contagion as well, and it's been so long since I've seen it, is that you have people on CNN that are in the movie, right? Like Anderson Cooper, I believe, and Sanjay Gupta and others.
Yeah, that guy. I saw him there.
Yeah, and yeah, like Sanjay Gupta plays that. Oh, he's a friendly Indian, sort of trustworthy science guy, right? And he's the good, friendly doctor, the Dr. Hibbert or whatever in The Simpsons. They have these are the characters, but the fact that people that would work for CNN would play themselves in fictional movies is extremely troublesome, folks.
But you can trust them when they're on their show.
Yeah, I mean, that means
It's
like
okay.
they're basically acting all the time. I mean, that's the only way that you know, you can really, I mean, anybody with critical thought can really interpret it. So it's just another example of how they managed to program us. And then here we've got this article here. So this guy, just in case, before I close up his thing here, he's homegrown herbalist.
And
herbalist. Yeah.
there's a link to that respiratory, the free one on YouTube, at the end of my Corona biotech thing. There's a link to it. It pops up on the screen.
So and Camille, I put the link to Camille's channel in the description there. So you definitely go and sub her right away, so you can, you know, you keep abreast with what she's showing here. But
I just think people should know how to help themselves. And there's more than just respiratory with them. It's, I mean,
yeah. Well,
it's great. It's great to not have
the
to
one
wait.
thing they don't want, and this, all of Agenda 21 is this, right? Like, Agenda 21 is the government will do everything for you.
Yeah.
Right. And the reality is, for us to be truly happy and free, we want to be able to do as much for ourselves as possible.
Yeah.
Because the more control we have over our environment and what we eat and what we interact with on a daily basis makes us more free, right? So what the Agenda 21 calls for is a corporatocracy that controls everything, every element of civilization, from food to water to, education to,
Oh yeah, like I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you said the water. In Contagion, they're like, there's even people calling to put this in the water, like we do with fluoride. It's like,
Yeah.
ah!
They said that?
Yeah.
With fluoride. Wow. Fluoride too is one of the most telling sort of all the nasty things that
Now it's coming out. The
governments-
chlorine too. It's coming out.
Chlorine
How
too.
bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've always one of the things I've always hated swimming pools because of chlorine.
Yeah.
Like hate
What
them.
goes on goes in.
Yeah, because it's like
Yeah.
the way that you feel and the way that you smell when you leave, the pool, and it's just you
Yeah.
get that chlorine in your system, and it's like, ugh. But yeah, that's like putting fluoride, for instance, and like, for instance, you go to the pharmacy, and it's like now with fluoride, it's like it's
Ugh.
now with cancer, I mean, like fluoride is one of the most toxic chemicals in the world. And the fact that they put it in water, and they keep trying to do this in Montreal, by the way. There's a bunch of people of a certain tribe that are always putting out articles saying it's about time that Montreal joins the 21st century and gets the fluoride in the water.
I'm so shocked that you guys don't already have it.
Yeah, I know, it's nuts. I guess
Wow.
because it's mostly still French that control this area, sort of thing. But
Jeez.
but they're working hard. They are working hard, constantly putting out articles saying, it's about time. And this is, and they use things like cavities.
Yeah.
The reason why we got to put fluoride in the water is because it'll bring down cavities by 0.5% or something like that.
Hurry.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But that's another thing. And I suppose yourself, do you use filters? Do you have any do you trust the drinking water? Do you have fluoride in your system where you are?
Oh yeah, there's fluoride here
Oh,
for like
gosh.
20 years. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But no, I don't drink that water. But you never know what's in all of the water, even there's local springs around
the
here.
spring water.
Yeah, but who knows? Who knows what is the
Yeah.
other stuff? Atrazine, whatever. That's
Yeah.
supposed to be in all the water, and then the microplastics, and everything. They've screwed things up so bad. There's where the nanotech maybe can help us with the filtration.
Yeah, and the atrazine there, which is making the frogs gay. It's
Just the frogs.
Literally. Well, it's not just obviously.
Yeah.
But the amphibious life is like they're more simple in their biology, and that they're always the first to like feel the effects of these chemicals because they have a more simple biology than we do. That's why frogs, are used in biology classes to dissect because they have a very simple sort of system in them. But yeah, it's pretty nuts because they say like 95% or something of the drinking water in United States has atrazine in it, and they use atrazine as like a herbicide, right? It's used for crops and stuff, right? So that it just rolls off the crops and into the water systems, and yeah, it's just perfectly convenient that it attacks the endocrine system, right? Like it's your reproductive system that is under assault. And I believe it's like, to me, I think it's too obvious to make. I mean, like you can make some drinks really toxic, like Mountain Dew, for instance. It has brominated vegetable oil, which is banned in most countries in the world. But for the most part, I think it's just they hit us here, they hit us there, they hit us everywhere, and eventually it's a combination of all these different chemicals that work to bring down the work to produce more carcinogenic sort of things in our bodies, but also work to attack our fertility, our endocrine system, sort of thing. So
You mentioned the frogs. I just
Yep.
sent you a little thing. One sad part of the vaccines and the science to save us is the poor little mice, the rats too,
Oh, yeah,
and all the
yeah.
others. But like they make these creatures to be deficient and to be sick, and it's so screwed up. How can people support it? It makes me nuts. Like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for animal rights activists, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, how
It's
can they
interesting
take
though.
medicine? How can they-
You know what year it is, right?
2020.
The lunar calendar.
Oh, rat.
Yeah, it's the year of the rat.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, kind of telling, because of course rats have always been tied to
plague.
pandemics, the plague,
Yeah.
right? So
The fleas or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So but yeah, this is
Anyway.
just another example of
All the little technologies in that first paragraph there. It's really small on the screen, but just
yeah.
it's creepy. It's
let's read
creepy
this
what they
here.
do, these little things.
So this is the Regeneron research and development capabilities, the Velocity suite of technologies. Keeping with its history of developing a new and powerful transforming technologies, Regeneron has created the Velocity suite technologies comprising of VelociGene, VelociMouse, VelociImmune, VelociMab. Together, these technologies increase the efficiency and decrease the time involved in discovery and generation of drug candidates. These technologies. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just think it's disgusting that they make them ill, like they from the beginning. And then what are like how Bill Gates likes to vaccinate pregnant ladies, and all this. They can do this with mice.
Yeah, exactly.
What else can they do?
Well, they're doing it with us, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, it's sad too, because like a lot of the rhetoric that the New World Order pushes is compassion and forgiveness and stuff like that, and I can't help but think of that they want us to eventually forgive them for what they're doing to us, sort of thing, right? Because we are the guinea pigs in so many ways, folks. I mean, there's no doubt that we're all lab rats. Like, just think of the plant-based foods, think of all the stuff that they're changing, and the vaccines themselves, and once upon a time you just had your body and whatever you put in it, right, you pretty much knew where it came from, and it didn't have all these labs involved and all this tech and nanoparticles and whatnot in them. We're in this realm now where we have no real say on what's going on, and there's no real, when they fast track these things, like that's a bad sign. Like fast tracking, say, a flu vaccine, for instance, that means like cutting corners and trying to get something on the market as quickly as possible. And then you think of the massive amounts of profits. I know your mom, who's always sending me great stuff, Mary, was showing again too. It's astonishing to think of. I haven't made a video yet on it, but I've mentioned it many times, that doctors get paid handsomely for.
Isn't that disgusting?
Yeah. It's nuts. Like, people don't know this, but doctors get paid like tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands, like potentially tens of thousands of dollars a year, if not even hundreds of thousands, for meeting a certain quota of patients being, like, every patient that they vaccinate, they get like, I don't know, it's like $200 or something like that.
And then a bonus if they get.
Yeah.
It's
nuts. So that, and again, look, if you got a good doctor, your doctor's going to be honest. If your doctor tells you, like, that's what one of my doctors says, you're going to take the flu shot. And it's like, no, thanks. Patient knows best. I'm like, yeah, probably. But yeah, the flu vaccines are heavily pushed by your doctor,
and they don't even know what else in them.
There's a difference between, you go to see a doctor to get, and doctors have tons of valuable information. I mean, they study very hard for where they are. So when you have problems and you go to see a doctor, you take their advice seriously. It doesn't mean they're always going to be right, but they have the vast amount of knowledge in the topics that or the health sort of areas that you might be affected with. The thing is, with the vaccinations, none of these doctors are involved with the procedure of developing these vaccinations. So they have no clue what's inside them. It's just an appeal to authority, basically, right? So the doctor, and then it's worse because they don't tell you this, but they're getting paid very handsomely for every patient that they manage to get the flu vaccine. And then you think, well, the pharmaceutical corporations are so wealthy that they can afford to pay millions and millions of dollars out to all these GPs, right? I mean, these general practitioner doctors and family doctors and pediatricians, sort of thing. And then then you look and you see how powerful these corporations are. They are incredibly wealthy. There's so much money involved in vaccines and vitamins and all the different things that they produce. It's a massive industry. And again, to reiterate to folks out there that so much of what, like, you know, like I don't believe in vitamins, for instance. I don't believe, like, I believe that you have to take these things in naturally, that if you take artificial supplements, that you don't really know what's in them, and you're cutting corners. And, you know, and then the whole, you know, Rockefeller medicine sort of philosophy, which is very important. I think James did a great video on that. I know you've probably seen that one.
The
right?
Rockefeller medicine. Yeah.
Because the whole notion of the New World Order is to, like, they made a decision long ago that they weren't going to use a holistic approach to solving people's problems, that everything was going to be done by a pill.
Yeah.
So this is very important. It's not to say that medications can't help people, and some people can't live without certain medications. So I'm not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, saying that, you know, all medications are evil and all that, but it is a fundamental philosophy of the NWO that everything is going to be treated with pills, and that the real sort of objective is just to make lifelong addicts, basically, right?
Oh yeah, because some of those are just deadening the symptoms, you know, so you don't notice, but the issue's still there. And people definitely need to look at the options. Don't just take a pill. Never just take a pill.
Well, yeah, that's it. And it's like, and that, it's just a basic philosophy that is very troubling, because you see with antidepressants, for instance, suicide and depression, very serious issues, you know, that in many ways are manufactured by the NWO with all the toxic sort of foods and media and everything else that we have in our environments. That most people that do suffer from depression would far more benefit from a healthy lifestyle, like a radical change in lifestyle, right? Where, you know, you're exercising, you're eating, you know, wholesome foods,
doing a fast from your programming.
Fast, and not watching the mind control, not partaking in all their rituals and everything else. But that's not at all how it works. The depression sort of thing, I mean, and you see this everywhere, and I've been covering it for so many years, how they, you know, oh, let's talk about your depression and let's come out. And it's all guised as, we got to care about people that have this, and this is serious, and we don't want to stigmatize these people. We want people to come out and talk about it. But the real thing is that they don't really give you any solutions through the Rockefeller medicine for those problems. It's all about, well, we've got a pill for you, basically. And that is probably the worst possible thing that people are in those situations could resort to. And it might be like a bandage solution where it helps you sleep at night and maybe keeps you functioning. And then all of a sudden, you know, that pill doesn't work anymore. So you need another pill. You need a heavier dose, and, you know, and then next thing you know, you've got sleepwalking people, basically, right? Which is, you know, somnambulant sort of masses, which is perfect for the New World Order. You know, and that's just an example. So much of what we see everywhere is this sort of solution, right? That, oh, here's a pill, here's a vaccine, here's this, here's that. And that's why I say, and kind of started off the podcast this way, that, fear the solutions.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think. I mean, is like, I'm scared of their solutions because I know that most of the time the problems, they create them. And we all know they provide the solutions. So the solutions are often provided or often developed before the problem ever arises, and then they create the problem. So, do you have anything else you want me to show here?
I think we actually went through everything that I had set aside.
Wow, that's
I
pretty
know.
awesome. I
That's
think,
good.
yeah, do I have anything else here? We have the Novavax wins fast track designation for flu. We covered that. All right, let's take that down. And we did that.
Florida. Ah,
I looked up biotech here. It's interesting too. Ooh, just another little thing to throw in here for you people that like smoking pot. Montreal-based company Canara Biotech Incorporated start growing at a massive facility. So biotech corporations producing marijuana.
oh yeah, in
What could go wrong?
the CBD oil, how I had showed in I think the Please Stop the Ride to the Biotech Food Takeover video, that they were talking about brewing that up, and that one company, Amyris, they have shipped weeks ago. They shipped their first of the brewed up CBD to go
Wow.
out. So, I mean, not saying that it would all be that, but it's certainly coming. It's cheaper and they can tailor make it. It'll be the best ever.
Yeah, there's a reason why they made weed legal in Canada.
Oh yeah.
And it had nothing to do with just let them smoke pot.
No.
They want you to smoke pot. They want you to and then they want you to go to the government sort of locations to supply yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, too, like, I smoke pot. I'm very, frugal with it. But the thing is that the real solution to that sort of thing, in my opinion, really is no government, right? Like, where, you just buy the seeds and you grow your own pot.
Yeah, it's just like the medicine. It's just like the food. Grow your own or have a trusted source.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you could trust in Mother Nature. We're all here because of Mother Nature, right? And Mother Nature provides all those solutions, and yet, nope. We're all being turned into technical nightmares or like freaking cyborgs, that we're gonna have no control over what's in our bodies. That's what scares me. That's why I say, like, we often think of the big things, even thinking big pharma and stuff like that, but really, in many ways, what we have to fear are the smallest things, right? Is the smallest,
very small.
Yeah, the very smallest things, the nanotech.
Yeah.
Which, when you think nanotech and you try to put that into terms, people maybe they don't quite get it. Even myself, it's hard to contemplate how small nanotech is. Like, it's hard because it's a nanometer, right? If you know what a millimeter is, and then you look at a nanometer, and a nanometer is like 1/1,000,000th of a hair, right? it's so incredibly small. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I don't really know, but it's so incredibly small. It's completely imperceptible. It's something that
I actually have it here.
Yeah, good.
That a nanometer. It says that that there are 25,400,000 nanometers in an inch. A sheet of paper is about 100,000 nanometers thick.
Oh, wait.
And a typical human hair is roughly 80,000 nanometers wide.
80,000. Okay, so I wasn't that far off, but I was off. But yeah, I mean, like, you just think of how thin a human hair is, and and then you just think you'd never be able to see it. Basically, it's so incredibly small, and this is really that. In many ways, I think will be the major game changer. All these things happening, cloning, you got the CRISPR babies, the designer babies. Again, too, another thing I'd like to discuss in the future are the emulated human beings. I don't know if you've looked into this at all, but the emulations in the sort of realm of AI, which they kind of showed in the movie Transcendence, was it, with Johnny Depp?
I didn't see it. Now,
Yeah.
is this digital or are these?
Yes. Okay. So in
synthetics? Okay.
Transcendence, which is a really bad movie, like in many ways because it's evil. And Elon Musk is in it, by the way, which is very, very telling. But in the movie Transcendence, Johnny Depp plays a AI specialist, right, who is developing cutting edge AI, and he's attacked by some radical sort of human, like a traditional human group, right, who are trying to save humanity from AI and humans merging with AI, sort of thing. And so he's poisoned, and he's dying. And what they do is they transfer his consciousness into an AI program. And the AI program, that is him, kind of, or whatever, you don't really know until the end, sort of thing, becomes the most powerful force on the planet, and develops these massive, grids of solar energy to develop all this biotech and nanotech and everything. And in the film, I think I won't give it away because you might want to check it out just to see how that plays out. But the emulated sort of human beings, which they're talking about, like I follow a lot of the transhumanist material. I try to keep abreast with it. It's very, very disturbing, but they're saying in the near future, people will be able to emulate their consciousness into the cyber world, basically, and that these beings will become infinitely more intelligent than humans, and they'll exist in the cyber world, sort of thing, and they will have human rights, status, and all that, and they'll be able to replicate themselves. And it's really disturbing stuff, right?
Yeah.
That they will constantly, constantly be improving themselves by, absorbing information, and they would become millions of times more intelligent than we are, sort of thing.
But you got to figure all of the information would link together. So all the people who are uploaded, you'd have the power of.
Yeah. So and this is like very real. This is part of what Ray Kurzweil and all those characters are involved in. Like, again,
the Mambo Chicken, the transhumanist condition, the Ed Regis book. That's what that's all about.
Yeah. It's scary. It scares the crap out of me because I can't help but think about this stuff a lot, because I'm thinking by 2030, the world is going to be radically different, just because there will be all these different types of human beings. You're going to have clones, like that's going to be, and CRISPR babies, and then you're going to have AI and brain chips. That's all being rolled out right now, the brain chips, right? And they're talking about brain chips for treating alcohol and depression and suicide and all these things, right? So the next pharmaceutical, non-pharmaceutical sort of bio, again, what we're talking about today, we're, trying to look ahead, or not even looking ahead, looking at right now, where the whole sort of transformation from the traditional pharma using chemicals and compounds and sort of solutions to a nanotech sort of entirely, different but similar realm, where they're going to use nanotech in our system to combat, quote unquote, combat, viruses and things like that. It's, again, it's thinking at the smallest level that it might be there that we should be most concerned with, sort of thing, going forward. So it is very, it's crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
But it is past 4:00. I imagine you're probably pretty busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to close up now, or are you?
Sure, but I'm
anything else?
looking forward to the brain uploading stuff. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, depending on your schedule, but this is usually a good time for me. So if maybe next week or a couple weeks from now you can get your afternoon free, we'll correspond.
Yeah.
And get that show, because I'd really like to discuss that. But yeah, everyone listening, please go and check out Please Stop the Ride. That's her channel. The link's in the description of the show.
I just left a comment in the chat too.
That's her. She's doing tremendous work. And this is wonderful doing this show with you, Camille. And make sure, everyone give us a thumbs up. Check out her channel, and check out some of the latest videos she put up. They're really, really informative.
And short. They're
Yeah,
very
yeah.
short.
People are saying that
Short
to
and
me. It's
sweet.
like, can you just put up some shorter videos? And I
Well-
do like 4-hour podcasts.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot of information in there.
yeah,
So.
that's the thing. I do both. So I'll try to, if you're listening, you're hoping for some shorter stuff. Yeah, I'll be doing that as well. So we'll try to do a lot of things to cater to different sources. But yeah, great job, Camille. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was a good time talking
Yeah.
about the creepy stuff.
And yeah, everyone, thank you so much for checking out the show. And yeah, we'll see you guys all on the next one. Have a great day, folks.